First, some wise words from Peter Thiel.
I would never bet against Elon in anything. So I think that's sort of, hard rule number one.
I wonder why I'd be playing this clip with this rule from Peter Thiel. Rule number one, hard rule number one, never bet against Elon. And speaking of Elon, dude dropped an absolute bombshell on X. Hallmars posts, AI is taking off at an insane pace. Elon responds, yeah, seeing it everywhere. By the way, 12.4, which in case anyone's not sure, FSD, 12.4, current version's 12.3. Who cares? So the next iteration of FSD, 12.4, goes to internal release this weekend and limited external beta next week. Are you sitting down? Roughly a 5 to 10 times improvement in miles per interventions versus 12.3. Were you listening? Of course you were listening. Let me say that again anyway. The next incremental change, 12.3 to 12.4, will see a 5 to 10 times decrease in the number of interventions per mile. 5 to 10 times fewer interventions. We're talking half to an entire order of magnitude fewer interventions. This is absolutely insane. You may have heard Musk talk about the March of Nines in terms of safety, right? It's never going to be 100% perfect. There will be mistakes, right? There will be interventions. But first you want to get it to a point where 99.9% of the time you don't need to intervene. Then 99.99%, 99.999, and so on. That's the March of the Nines. Each of those nines is another order of magnitude improvement. Talk about an insane pace of improvement. Musk continues. I just thought I'd give you guys a little bit of time to just clean up first. Everyone good? Okay. All right, great. Let's continue. 12.5 will be out in late June. Now look, it's possible this is Elon time, so let's see. By the way, late June also happens to be Musk's birthday. 12.5, not 12.4 that we just heard about, with the 5 to 10 times improvement. 12.5 will be out in June. The frequency of these updates and the massive improvements in capability, both accelerating at an insane pace. I'm recording this in mid-May. Tesla themselves, expecting roughly 6 weeks, give or take, from now, we'll see the release of not only 12.4 with a 5 to 10 times improvement, but also then 12.5. Now, what's interesting about 12.5? 12.5 will also see a major improvement in MPI and is single stack. No more implicit stack on highways. The ultra nerds already know what we're talking about, but just for anyone who doesn't, I'll boil this down nice and simple. 12.5 has no differentiation between you're on a highway, use this code and figure out how to drive based on this, and you're not on a highway. Ultra generalized. Just like you and I. We don't need to press a magic button in our head when we drive out of a city onto a highway. The stuff we've learned about driving applies broadly. This is a massive moment. The last piece of the patchwork goes away with version 12.5. Now folks, remember, if you have access to FSD 12.3, or in the worst case, if you've been watching countless videos of end-to-end drives with 12.3, you will note in many places a remarkable improvement in capability and a massive reduction in interventions per mile. There are so many pockets of California now, especially around the San Francisco area, where driving 10, 15, 20 minutes or longer with zero interventions is commonplace. Do the math. If there are 5 to 10 times fewer interventions, things are about to get wild. Musk was asked, when Cybertruck FSD? He responds with 12.5. Remember folks that Tesla internally sees what's happening a few versions ahead with FSD. They develop, they test, they iron out bugs. Then they do an internal release, as in just within Tesla employees. Then limited external beta. Then wide rollout. So what Tesla knows is happening and around the corner is a few months advanced of what the public sees on the external betas, right? So keep this in mind. Knowing that, it's worth considering what's occurred in the last few weeks. Musk makes an unannounced trip to China. Word is that Tesla now has approval for FSD in China. Tom Zhu heading back to China. Musk announces the Robotaxi unveil is on 8/8, 8 being the lucky number in China. The price to subscribe to FSD is halved. A 1-month free trial takes place. It's important to understand that actions speak louder than words. And historically, Tesla's words have been autonomy should be solved pretty soon, roughly 2 weeks. We think, maybe. That's not been the case. But now their actions are providing the clearest possible indicator that it's time. And this massive nugget here, a 5 to 10 times improvement in miles per interventions in 12.4. Then 12.5 goes single stack. No more differentiation between highway mode versus city streets. It's the same shit now. And on screen now, we can see Tesla stock down 2.01% today following this bombshell from Musk regarding the improvements, the 5 to 10 times fewer interventions per mile in 12.4, the timing of the release of 12.4 and 12.5. If, by the way, it's not, but if, in a magical la-la land, the stock market was rational, logical, and an accurate weighing machine, if the stock market, remember, there is no such thing as the stock market, it's just buying and selling activity of everyone participating on a particular stock. There's no Ministry of Fair Valuations that convenes every day to decide what a stock's worth. It's just whatever the end result of all the buying and selling happens to be. But if the stock market was logical and was accurately weighing Tesla, after hearing this information, Tesla stock, in my opinion, would be putting GameStop stock to shame. But it's not, and that's the point. I'm still buying, literally, by the way. I had more money, put some buy orders through overnight, which executed. There is a reason. I keep reminding everybody I'm still buying with every spare cent. And again, if you guys would like to see why, you can head over to Patreon. All investors can see my 10-year Tesla fair valuation. And if you want to see the numbers behind those fair valuation, you can join at the investor level or above and access my full valuation model, which includes all of my assumptions around autonomy. I still can't believe Tesla's just over $500 billion market cap today, as I record this, in mid-May 2024, on the cusp of autonomy. By the way, Musk also clarified some fake news that was published by a fake news outlet, falsely claiming that the take rate on people who'd done the 1-month trial of FSD and then actually ended up subscribing was 2%, writing this: I don't comment on everything, as sometimes I don't see it, and commenting on everything makes it easy to fish for information. The take rate is much higher than 2%. Please. So I'll just move on. This from Matt Smith, whose boyfriend replied to his post, and then Musk chimed in, so let's just get to that in a moment. I recently had a talk with a friend who works for an auto OEM. He had been trying FSD Beta V12 to do some research for his work and was really impressed with it. Without much prompting from me, he told me that their company's strategy was just to wait and see what approach works best for solving autonomy and then to implement it, quote, more efficiently. Good luck with that. So I have a few thoughts here before we get to the responses. There is no magic catch up to Tesla button. So if any company is actually genuinely sitting on the sidelines waiting to figure out which approach works, e.g. having fuck tons of data with a generalized approach, using cameras and neural net, as opposed to the obviously doomed from the get LiDAR encrusted clusterfuck pre-map and HD approach of cruise, Waymo, etc. I've been over this so many times, I'm not going to repeat the spiel. Sorry for the 3 new people watching this video. If your approach is to sit on the sidelines, see which approach will work, and then attempt to implement it yourselves, good luck with that indeed. However, that may not actually be what this company is thinking. Matzlova responded, that just means let's buy it from Tesla. And Musk responds once again clarifying, we're happy to sell it, as in license it. And that's how things play out. Tesla wins, no one else is close. They demonstrate with mountains of data the safety profile of the software, can extrapolate and demonstrate clearly how many lives will be saved, how many permanent disabilities and injuries will be avoided. The companies who were attempting to catch up and or solve autonomy with pre-mapping and HD LiDAR, they're all fucked. They're going to give up and or go bankrupt, which is essentially the same thing anyway. And then companies will be scrambling to license FSD from Tesla, which, by the way, is a huge advantage for Tesla and, importantly, humans. Why? Because the more vehicles on roads using Tesla's FSD, the more data Tesla FSD has to train and improve to get those edge cases to continue the march of the nines. It's wild to see the non-reaction in Tesla stock after Musk posted this. I mean, it doesn't surprise me because I've already figured this out, but in case you needed a clearer indication of how detached Tesla stock price tends to be from reality, this is probably the best example in the history of the company. Some people just don't get it. I think these people soon will be wallowing in regret. I'm just kidding. FSD is never going to happen. Plus, everyone else will catch up at the exact same time anyway. What a perfect opportunity to segue into the second half of today's video after just learning about the incredible progress that's happening on autonomy. The biggest opportunity that has ever arisen in public markets. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Tesla continuing to further their already unassailable lead and literally on the cusp of solving this incredible technological challenge and unlocking this decatrillion-dollar opportunity. Apparently, Elon Musk is distracted.
Tesla stock down now more than 30% this year, driven by declining revenues, shrinking margins, and possibly some of CEO Elon Musk's controversial comments. Joining us right now is Tim Higgins, Wall Street Journal business columnist. His latest column is, quote, "The man whose musings fuel Elon Musk's nightmares." Tim, why don't you tell us about it?
Okay.
What is fueling his nightmares?
Good morning.
For those who haven't read it
you know,
yet.
For years, Elon has been worried about planetary destruction, so he's had SpaceX to kind of make sure humanity had other planets to be on, and Tesla was about protecting against global warming. In recent years, we've heard these other concerns that he's talked about: killer AI.
I just have to clarify one thing regarding Tesla. Company's mission doesn't say anything about, quote, global warming or, quote, climate change. Instead, it's simply about transitioning the world to, keyword here, sustainable forms of energy, generation, storage, and supply. These two things are independent of one another. Should go without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway. If the world currently is built upon the utilization of sources of energy that are not sustainable, they must be, ready, unsustainable, and that, ready, is, wait for it, unsustainable. Something has to change. This is the purpose of Tesla. It's helping to accelerate the world's transition away from unsustainable forms of energy, e.g. fossil fuels, to sustainable, e.g. solar, stored in batteries, etc. I just wanted to put that out there in case anyone is a little bit confused.
And now more recently, the woke mind virus, kind of his shorthand for progressive, liberal, politically overcorrect ideas. And we've seen him interact a lot with a Canadian professor whose book, The Parasitic Mind, it kind of helps fuel some of those worries. And even...
By the way, excellent book. I recommended it a while ago to my Patreon subs. Everything happens first there. You should be on Patreon. If you're not, click the link in the pinned comment. For real though, The Parasitic Mind by Gad Saad, essential reading. It's been quite interesting actually over the last maybe 6 or so months. I think it was an interview with Gad who said he hoped Musk had read his book. Months later, they're interacting extremely regularly on X, and The Parasitic Mind continues to be a #1 bestseller in many categories globally, possibly as a result of Musk's heavily recommending that very book. And seriously, everyone should read it, unless you want to live in denial about what's going on. In which case, nothing to see here, move along, everything's fine.
Elon says this book gives him nightmares.
And so how should investors should go read this book? What would be the takeaway if they did?
Well, it helps kind of explain some of the worldview that Elon has started kind of leaning towards in the last few years, right? He's very much active on X, concerned about some of these immigration issues, DEI issues, generally things that are overly politically correct. He kind of pushes back. And, for years, he probably didn't necessarily bother people because Tesla stock was doing relatively well. But in recent months, as you point out, it hasn't been doing as well. And there's just kind of general concern that maybe these bigger ideas and X are being a distraction for him, right? And so,
how much do you think, people talk about how in the United States, EV ownership and buyers, it's become political, meaning blue states, you can see materially different buying patterns than you can see even in red states. And how much do you think he has stoked that?
Absolutely. He's probably brought in Republicans to Tesla, but...
This is most certainly true. I've got to give credit to Tim for acknowledging this fact. A huge number of people who previously would not have considered an electric vehicle have purchased a Tesla and are ranting and raving about it simply as a means of supporting Elon, who's been standing up for people's freedoms. It's important to understand that the vast majority of media, in the United States in particular, leans heavily to the left, and this can give a very distorted view of broader perceptions versus reality. What I'm trying to say is it's probably reasonable to suggest that for every extremely angry, upset, blue-haired, fatherless resident of California or Portland screaming about how terrible Elon Musk is, how they will never drive a Tesla, how billionaires are bad, and so on, there's probably at least one person with very different political views who goes, this motherfucker spent $44 billion just to allow me to ask questions and wonder, is it really safe and effective? Well, I better not say that, I'll still probably get banned from YouTube. This guy's all right. Even though electric vehicles are a scam and shit and climate change doesn't exist, I might buy a Tesla just to support the cause. What a legend.
Maybe not because of his politics, but because of just Tesla vehicles' performance over the years. But you look at the data about consumers at the end of last year when he was very much politically having these political outbursts, and you could see Democrats kind of walking away from the brand, not stomaching some of that talk. And that's a harmful thing for the company at a time when Democrats really are the biggest cohort of electric car buyers generally in the U.S. You need to keep those if you're Tesla, not kind of turn them off to the idea of owning a Tesla.
But Tim, at the same time, I would say that he has been right about a lot of this, both technologically and even culturally and socially. I think that there's been I think there's...
This is kind of crazy to hear being discussed on CNBC. I agree, but the acknowledgement. See, here's what happens, right? Elon Bad says, hey, look, guys, there's an asteroid that's going to impact the Earth. It's very dangerous. Hey, look over there. Hello, we need to do something about the asteroid. And everyone says, Elon, you're Elon, blah. And then 12 months later, a year later, 2 years later, 3 years later, people start coming around. Hey, guys, hey, look, there's an asteroid. I wish someone had told us about this sooner. Why didn't anyone say anything about it sooner? Meanwhile, Elon was raising the alarm years earlier. It's a recurring theme. Feels like only yesterday where just about everybody thought it was a great idea to mutilate children's genitals, to sterilize them, that adult men, raging narcissistic adult men, claiming they identify as a woman and then not only destroying women's records in sports, but also physically destroying women's bodies by absolutely annihilating them in collisions and contact sports was a totally good idea. Why drag performers reading stories to young children was totally normal, and that anyone who questioned the idea of people illegally streaming into the United States was obviously a racist, not somebody concerned about the fact that these people aren't being vetted, ID'd, and also they are, in fact, entering the United States illegally. Suddenly people go, wait, maybe it's not a good idea if all these people are flooding in and many of them are convicted criminals. Yeah, maybe that's not great. I could continue to rattle off countless other examples. Musk has balls, and he's willing to call out issues he sees, speak his mind, even though he knows there'll be a huge amount of blowback, because he cares about doing good as opposed to being perceived to be good. And people are starting to come around. I don't know where this is exactly going from Andrew Sorkin here, but I get a feeling he's going to recognise and acknowledge the fact that Musk has actually called a lot of things that were major issues that he got attacked for initially, that now people are starting to go, oh, hang on, maybe there is an issue here.
Increasing understanding, even on the left, about some of the issues that he was trying to vocalize a year or two ago about where we are with some of these issues that where the pendulum is swinging back. I was going to even mention your paper today has a piece called "Suddenly There Aren't Enough Babies. The Whole World is Alarmed." That's actually an issue that he's been talking about for years.
Absolutely. It's one of the interesting things about him, and it's not black or white. There's some gray when he's talking here, and it's hard. You can't necessarily dismiss some of these things that might appear at the beginning to be fringe. He does have this ability to kind of pull at strings that become more interesting over time. I mean, go back 20 years. Electric cars did not seem like a thing that people were going to be interested in, but he had an idea and an understanding of how to make it popular. It's very similar with some of these social issues that sometimes he has his fingers on the pulse of what's occurring underneath kind of the surface that, people are now more willing to talk about. And he even talks about how he's expanding the Overton window, the idea of what is acceptable to communicate or talk about in kind of general society. And he thinks that's important. And that's part of the reason why he bought X is to have greater debate, more robust debate, to ensure that not just one or two ideas are conventional wisdom.
Dude, I'm stunned. I agree with what they've said. I can't believe they've said it. They're acknowledging the fact that, you know what? He has called it. People are starting to come around on a lot of these issues. Better late than never. You guys remember during the scamdemic, the futile, fascist, inhumane lockdowns? Remember Elon Bad speaking out against these and in fact having successfully opened a factory in Shanghai safely, then having an unelected dickhead in California, demand Tesla shut their factory despite a national mandate that it must stay open because it was a necessary business. Instead of Musk complying like a little bitch, he said, no, I'm not going to shut this down. If anyone's arrested, please make sure that it's me. A few years later, not everybody, but many people are starting to realize that the extreme overreaction to the scamdemic, which, by the way, the virus was real, but the response was a scam. The pushback, the courage was completely reasonable and fair. Most people still aren't there yet, but many are starting to wake up. By the way, I'm not going to say that word about the thing that's now been pulled because of the things that happened to a small percentage of people that had the thing that they had to take to see their friends and family and loved ones and to work and retain their job. The thing that wasn't for their quarterly profits, but was definitely for your protection, totally necessary and also completely safe and effective. The point here, Musk has taken a lot of heat in the past, but you know what? His batting average, his track record, imperfect, but outstanding. It's pretty incredible that even though Andrew Sorkin was dancing around some of those issues, he and Tim, again, CNBS leans left. Tim's employer, the Balls Deep Journal, leans quite left. It's amazing that they're starting to acknowledge, you know what? Some of these things that Musk has been very vocal about, he's actually been correct on, and people are now starting to realize that the pendulum is starting to swing. And speaking of pendulums and swinging, actually, this has got nothing to do with swinging or pendulums, but in totally unrelated matters, you noticed how Tesla stock's still down, give or take, like roughly 50% from all-time highs, and they're on the cusp of solving autonomy. Yeah, I don't know why I mentioned that. Bye. Want more content? Early access? Bunch of perks? Click the links in the pinned comment. AG1 is awesome. I've been taking it daily now for more than 3 years. It's a great way to fill in nutritional gaps. It's packed full of vitamins, minerals, and whole food source nutrients, plus has prebiotics, probiotics, and adaptogens to improve gut health, regularity, and help your body handle stress. I'm always looking for an edge to help me feel and perform my best, which is why I haven't missed a day of AG1 for more than 3 years. And I haven't missed a daily video in more than 3 years. Must be a coincidence, right? Just try it and see how you feel. Click the link in the pinned comment or head to drinkag1.com/SMR and get yourself a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3 plus K2 and 5 travel packs. But don't take my word for it. This is what viewers of the channel had to say after trying AG1. I feel like I have a lot more energy since I started on AG1. By the way, viewer, that makes 2 of us. On to the next. Just got my AG1 in the mail. Legit feeling the effects after day 3. This viewer's been taking AG1 for 8 months and says, what an investment. Another. 3 months ago, I started AG1 and have been enjoying the evenness of alertness and energy that lasts the day. I just started the wife on it too. Are you convinced yet? I mean, hey, it's worth trying, right? Click the link in the pinned comment or head to drinkag1.com/SMR, or I can keep going. Plenty more to come. This viewer, after about a month on AG1, definitely a lack of fatigue in the afternoon. Pleasant side effect is that my coffee intake has imploded and is almost down to 0. One more? Yeah, why not? I honestly feel younger and will be continuing to use AG1. This stuff really is crazy good. I didn't think it would be, but this stuff is awesome. It really is what everyone is saying. One more? Don't mind if I do. I've just received my 3rd month supply. I've drank it every day. I have so much energy throughout most of the day. I'm productive, started a new business, started socializing, refurbished a boat. It's no coincidence. Thank you for your persistence, your integrity, and your insights. Now look, these are not my words. These are not my testimonials. This is what you guys and girls are saying. Maybe it's 100% placebo effect. But even if that's the case, I think it's money well spent. Click the link in the pinned comment or head to drinkag1.com/SMR and get yourself a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3 plus K2 and 5 travel packs. If you're still skeptical, hey, I don't blame you. Everyone on the planet seems to be promoting AG1 now, but guess what? They weren't nearly 3 years ago when I had this to say privately to my Patreon audience before there was a relationship, when I was asked about what I was doing for my health, energy, and so on. Just sharing my genuine, honest thoughts about a product I'd recently discovered that was at the time called Athletic Greens, now AG1. If I could only recommend one supplement to take, Athletic Greens, and I'm not getting paid to say this, Athletic Greens is a fucking game changer. I cannot believe how effective this is. No longer having a lack of energy in the afternoons. It's fucking amazing. There's only one thing to recommend, seriously. Try Athletic Greens. You won't go back. So obviously, just like Elon Musk is a liar, a fraud, a con man, a scammer, a fake engineer, and Tesla's going bankrupt, you shouldn't trust that guy from about 3 years ago who, without any financial incentive, was promoting this product to his audience on Patreon when they were asking about health and what he's doing for supplements. Because obviously, there was some other reason he recommended that, obviously. Not sure what it was, but don't trust that guy. And all the testimonials, like my mental game has improved with AG1. I feel better than ever. I'm so impressed I've bought it for both my parents. I feel more focused and have better digestion. Incredible difference. No more afternoon fatigue. It's relieved gut issues. These are all just obviously fake testimonials from fake people. Right? Wrong. Just try it. Unless you hate yourself. If you hate yourself and you don't even want to risk possibly feeling better, this is not for you. But for everyone else, what's the worst that could happen? Try it for a month. See how you feel. It's a no-brainer. Just click the link in the pinned comment or head to drinkag1.com/SMR. You'll get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3 and K2 plus 5 travel packs. And you'll take the colossal risk that maybe you might have a similar experience to some of the people whose testimonials we've read in this video.